This is a short video to answer the most common, the most frequent question that I am asked as a guy who walks around Washington, D.C. every day. Have I seen the President of the United States inside the White House? Have I personally seen the President inside the White House? And the answer to that, it's very simple. Of course not. The White House is not a zoo. It's not like I could go up and tap on the glass and say, do something. Now that said, have I seen the President? Well, yeah, I have. And let me tell you how you can too if you come to visit Washington, D.C. Now, as most of you know, the White House is not just an office building, it is a private residence. The President lives in the executive apartment up on the second and somewhat third floor of the White House building. Now, the West Wing is where the President works. His commute from the residence to the Oval Office is known as the 45-second commute. The President goes down a set of stairs or an elevator and then walks across the colonnade by the Rose Garden and into the Oval Office. If the weather is bad, he can walk through the building, but it's basically a 45-second commute.
This area is called the West Colonnade. Flanked by the columns you see here, it's also called the 45-second commute. The President walks from the residence in the White House across the colonnade to the Oval Office. Behind us is the Rose Garden.
You cannot see the Rose Garden area from the public viewing areas outside of the White House. I've tried. In fact, I've taken a look at Google Maps. Now, Google Maps has done a street view from inside the White House, from the edge of the Rose Garden, and you can look out onto the South Lawn and out onto the ellipse, and you can see daylight. You could say, hey, if I look just this direction, I could see people out on the ellipse. So I went out on the ellipse and looked back the other direction to see if I could see people in the Rose Garden. It didn't work. Now, interestingly, Google Street View has actually done the entire White House driveway. And when I looked from the White House driveway out, I saw that there was one possible way I could see the back end of the Rose Garden if I was out at a certain point here in the ellipse. And you know what? That photo must have been taken in the winter time when the trees weren't as thick, because I can't see anything over on the West Wing. So as I said, I have not personally seen President Biden inside the White House in the first 100 days of office. But let me add to that. I did not see Donald Trump inside the White House during his term. I did not see Barack Obama inside the White House during his term. I did not see George Bush inside the White House during his term. As a citizen, a civilian, a tourist, you're not going to see these people inside the White House. It just doesn't happen. So the question is, if you can't see the President in the White House, can you see the President in Washington, D.C.? And the answer to that is kinda, maybe, sort of, if you get a little lucky. As you've seen from many of my videos, the President does go on motorcades. He drives out to Andrews Air Force Base, he drives to meetings, sometimes he drives to Capitol Hill, or drives to the Pentagon, or Arlington Cemetery. And if you're out on the street when a motorcade goes past and you're on the right side of the road where the President is sitting and he happens to be looking out the window, you can see him. If the motorcade just drives past and he's looking down or he's leaned back, you can't, because the windows are bulletproof glass, they're reflective sometimes. Sometimes it's like looking in a mirror, you just can't see anything. But sometimes, rare occasions, the President's lights are on, the lighting is just right, he's looking out the window, and yeah, you can see the President drive past in a motorcade. Seeing the President get on Marine One is a little bit more tricky. The main reason is that Marine One lands such that the general public is blocked from view by a giant helicopter. The helicopter lands on the South Lawn, the President comes out, and his view from the general public areas are blocked by Marine One itself. In all the time we saw the helicopter landing on the South Lawn, one time I saw his shoes, just his shoes, underneath the helicopter. That's about it. Recently, and on special occasions, Marine One will land on the White House ellipse, and if he does that, you can get a really good view of the President getting on or off Marine One in the White House ellipse. Now, on rare occasions, the President will have a ceremony on the South Lawn or the North Lawn. The President will come out, for example, like President Trump did, and it was opening day. He played pitch and catch with some of the kids that were on the South Lawn. The First Lady went out recently to plant a tree on the North Lawn. they happen. These little events happen. They go out on the south or north lawn. Unfortunately, when this happens, the Secret Service usually creates like a buffer zone, another square block of land that is blocked off to the public view. So seeing the president or the first lady or the vice president out on the south lawn is rather rare event. And unless you have a very powerful binoculars, you're not going to actually be able to make them out. This is what it looks like to the naked eye, basically. You wouldn't be able to make out a face from this distance unless you had binoculars. So right now you're looking at the south lawn, the biggest zoom I can give you on the phone. If the president was doing something on the south lawn, I would be even farther away from this location. Or if the president was up on the portico, the balcony up there, looking at the sunset, they'd probably close the ellipse where I'm sitting. But this is as close as I could zoom in to anyone on the south lawn. Could barely make out any faces even if they were there. Now, I don't want you to give up hope about your chances of seeing the president, especially if you're on a White House tour, because every now and then the president does pop in on White House tours. President Trump popped in on a number of White House tours while he was in office. President Biden hasn't done so yet because, well, there's no tours right now due to COVID, but it has happened in the past. The presidents will pop out of their daily schedule, see a tour group, and just go over and say hello. So maybe, lucky, might happen once or twice a year. Never know. The other time White House is open is during Christmas. The White House Christmas tree is set up. They decorate the White House for Christmas. The First Lady and the President often invite some people into the White House to see the decorations. If you happen to be a tourist at Christmas time, you might get lucky. You might be able to see them. This has happened before under Donald Trump. It happened under Barack Obama. You just never know. Now, it is incredibly rare for the President of the United States to walk outside of the White House perimeter, but it has happened. Several years ago, Barack Obama, on a nice spring day, decided, you know what, let's just walk over to my meeting at the Department of the Interior. It was only a couple blocks away, so he just strolled across the ellipse. He scared a lot of tourists. They didn't know what was going on. He even went up to the hot dog lady and talked to her about business selling hot dogs next to the White House. I should also note it was rumored that Bill Clinton walked over to the McDonald's near the White House several times, but I haven't been able to confirm that. Now, in previous administrations, the President of the United States would go out to a number of cocktail parties or dinners in the Washington, D.C. area, maybe once every other week or so, and there was a chance to see the President out and about in the city. To date, I believe Joe Biden has gone out for Taco Tuesday. On Cinco de Mayo, he went out to a Mexican restaurant and got some tacos. And I think he also, on his way to church one day, he stopped at a bagel restaurant, but he didn't get out of the car. He had the Secret Service go and get bagels. So not really something you can plan on. Another event that you can often see the president is when they go to church. There's no church on the White House grounds. Every president since, I think it's Madison or something, has gone to St. John's Episcopal Church, which is just across from Lafayette Park at one time or another. Joe Biden attends Trinity Catholic in Georgetown University, though he has been to some of the other Catholic cathedrals in town. Donald Trump went to different places as well. So if you know the president's church schedule, sometimes you can see them going in and out of the churches in the DC area. Now, if you are involved in the political world, as I was many, many years ago, you can occasionally see the president inside the White House. Number of times I saw Bill Clinton inside the White House, 1. Number of times I saw George Bush Sr. inside the White House, 3. Okay? Now, those were because I was on business in the White House, or I had friends who were working in the White House who got me in, or I basically scammed a big presidential signing ceremony for the Oslo Peace Agreement. I can tell you about that another time. Okay, you want to know how I scammed the Oslo Peace Treaty? All right, so the congressman that I was working for was given a call by the White House liaison office, and they said, today is the day we're going to sign the Oslo Peace Accord. All congressmen and their spouses are welcome. Well, the congressman's spouse was out of town, and the congressman was like, well, you've been following this issue for a while. This is kind of historic. You want to come? And I'm like, well, they just said it's for spouses. He's like, well, tell them you're my son. I'm like, that works for me. So we called the White House and said, the congressman's spouse is not available, but his son would like to attend. And the White House was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So then I went over to the bus at the Capitol building, and security checked us in, and they're like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm the congressman's son. And they said, what did the White House said? And the White House said, that's cool. And they're like, okay. So we got on the bus, drove over to the White House. We arrived, drove through the southwest entrance, got out, and I just said to the congressman, I'll see you later, because you're going to go up in the front seats. I'm going to go back in the cheap seats. Anyway, I went back in the back of the audience, and there were hundreds of people there for this. And I actually saw the moment where the Oslo Peace Treaty handshake took place. Yasser Arafat and Shimon Peres shaked hands in front of Bill Clinton on the south lawn of the White House. And I was there, several hundred people back in the back. Anyway, it was a different time. It was pre-9/11, it was pre-Oklahoma City. White House security wasn't as tight as it is right now. So anyway, the real reason I made this video is that so many of you have been asking me, have you seen the president personally inside the White House? And the reason I made this video is that you understand that's not really a standard. Seeing the president inside the White House is not something that a normal civilian would do. All right, if you work in politics, if you work in the White House, you'll see the president all the time. You could see the president every day. But if you're just a guy like me, or if you're a tourist visiting Washington, if you see the president, consider yourself incredibly lucky. It is a very rare event, and I try to bring it to you as many times as I can here on this channel, but it's not something that happens every day. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this clears some things up. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.